In 1999, Sony had a problem. They'd won the console war, but victory felt temporary. Sega's Dreamcast launched with better graphics. Nintendo planned GameCube. Microsoft announced they were entering gaming with unlimited budget. For Sony engineers, this wasn't about better graphics. It was survival. The PlayStation 2 would sell 155 million units. It would kill the standalone DVD player industry, and it would prove convergence was unstoppable. But building it required betting the company on a chip so powerful that the US government classified it as a weapon. Sony partnered with Toshiba to create the Emotion Engine. It wasn't just a processor, it was 10 specialized cores working in parallel, each handling different tasks simultaneously. Inside Toshiba's clean rooms, 300mm wafers baked under light hotter than the sun, carving logic meant to simulate emotion. The chip ran at 294 MHz with 6.2 gigaflops of computing power, more processing capability than Deep Blue had when it beat Kasparov at chess. The chip packed 10.5 million transistors onto silicon using 0.18 micron fabrication. Structures smaller than wavelengths of visible light. A single dust particle could ruin an entire wafer. The US government classified the Emotion Engine as a supercomputer and temporarily restricted its export. A chip powerful enough to simulate missile trajectories was being sold to teenagers for $299. But each chip cost Sony over $100 to manufacture in 2000. They sold complete consoles for $299. Sony lost money on every unit sold, betting they'd make it back on games. In 2000, standalone DVD players cost $300 to $500. Most families didn't own one yet. Sony saw an opportunity that Nintendo and Sega missed entirely. The PlayStation 2 wasn't marketed as a game console that played DVDs. It was a DVD player that happened to play games. The DVD laser read pits 1/3 the size of CD pits. The precision required? If the disc was the size of a football field, the laser would need to hit targets the size of a grain of rice while both were spinning at 200 miles per hour. Sony integrated the DVD drive directly into the gaming architecture. The same buffer system that prevented gameplay stuttering now handled movie playback. The same region coding that protected games now managed DVD regions. By 2002, millions thought they'd bought a DVD player. Instead, they'd unknowingly joined a revolution. PlayStation 2 appeared in more homes than any standalone DVD player brand. Within 3 years, the standalone DVD player market collapsed. Sony had used gaming as a Trojan horse to control the living room. Parents approved the purchase because it was educational. Kids got a game console. Sony got market dominance. While competitors abandoned their past, Sony embedded it in silicon. The PlayStation 2 didn't emulate the original PlayStation through software. Sony embedded the entire PS1 graphics chip inside the PS2 as the input-output processor. It cost more to manufacture, but it guaranteed perfect compatibility. Your old games didn't run on PS2 hardware. They ran on the actual PS1 chip hidden inside. Every old game was a promise kept. On launch day, PS2 had instant access to over 1,100 PlayStation games. This decision built trust. Xbox launched with zero backward compatibility. GameCube played Game Boy games through an accessory but abandoned N64 entirely. Sony respected their players' investments. Manufacturing the PlayStation 2 pushed production technology to its limits. The Emotion Engine initially cost over $100 per chip to manufacture. Sony sold complete consoles for $299, losing money on every unit. The bet was that game sales would eventually compensate. Producing millions of consoles monthly required accepting early manufacturing challenges. Complex chips on bleeding-edge 0.25 micron process meant yields were lower than mature products. Toshiba's Nagasaki facility worked around the clock to meet demand. Process technology evolved from 0.25 microns to 0.18 microns to eventually 65 nanometers over the console's lifetime. Each shrink reduced costs and heat. By 2002, Sony could drop retail price from $299 to $199. By 2004, they finally broke even on hardware. The PS2 Slim model in 2004 showed how far manufacturing had advanced. What cost over $100 per chip in 2000 now fit alongside the graphics processor on a single die. The patience required to lose money for years defined Sony's long-term thinking. Developers didn't choose PlayStation 2 for specifications. They chose it because 20 million customers were waiting. The DVD format allowed full voice acting, orchestral soundtracks, and cinematic cutscenes. Grand Theft Auto 3, God of War, Final Fantasy X. These games defined interactive entertainment. Over 13 years, 3,874 games released, more than any console before or since. The library wasn't just large, it was diverse. Xbox launched in 2001 with a 733 MHz processor and built-in hard drive. On paper, more powerful. GameCube launched the same year at just $199 with Nintendo's best first-party games. Xbox had power, GameCube had polish, but PlayStation 2 had purpose and parents' approval. The final numbers: 155 million PS2 units sold. Xbox managed 24 million. GameCube reached 21 million. Sony didn't just win the generation, they dominated it. The PlayStation 2 proved that convergence works when executed correctly. A decade later, every device in your pocket follows Sony's blueprint. Phones aren't just phones, they're cameras, music players, gaming devices, movie theaters. The console ran from 2000 to 2013. 13 years of production made it the longest supported platform in gaming history. Sony's engineering ambition, manufacturing patience, and strategic vision created something unrepeatable. The PS2 wasn't just the best-selling console ever made. It was the moment gaming became mainstream entertainment. But Sony's victory came with a cost. The confidence from PS2's dominance led to the PlayStation 3, a $599 console that nearly bankrupted the company. That war comes next.